Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Get Smart. My name is Lawton Ho, and I'm joined by
Benjamin Poole
and Drew Dosick. What's up, everybody?
What's going on? And in this show, you ask questions and we give you some answers. Hope you guys are doing well this Friday. How's your Friday been, boys?
Well, it's a little
right.
difficult with the stock market just continuing to rip higher on the back of hawkish news from Jay Powell. So,
but that doesn't make sense, right? Or does it make sense?
It does. You know, all the things need to just go up all the time. No point.
Even though he's hawkish?
Yep. Yeah. Just, everything's good for the economy. Bad economy is good for the economy or for the stock market. Good economy is good for the stock market. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Cool.
Everything.
Absolutely. And guys, if you're tuning in, wherever you're watching from, if you want to ask questions to us, you can do so exclusively on the verifiedinvesting.com homepage. Go to that homepage, click that little watch and ask, expand that and ask us some questions, and we'll do our best to provide some answers. All right. So let's get into it, huh?
Let's do it.
Christopher is asking, why is gold up when the stock market is up? I thought these two were supposed to trade opposite of one another. Thank you for all you guys do.
Yes, that's a very, very difficult question. Why is gold up as much? That's why it is a little bit puzzling, right? Well, there's several different reasons why gold is up. You've had a lot of different nations purchasing gold, stockpiling gold, so the demand of gold is upticked with all the countries purchasing it. You've also had our dollar really fall, the US dollar fall a whole bunch this year. If we look at the DXY, you can see here on the daily chart, here's where we were at the beginning of the year, and then we're all the way down here. So we've had a steep decline in the dollar, roughly about 11%, which does actually inflate the cost of gold. Oddly enough, it doesn't track it tick for tick, but with the dollar reducing in buying power, it actually is going to uptick gold. But then you also have this divergence, and we were talking about it today. Gareth was bringing this up during our live day trading room. We were talking about the 10-year, how the 10-year yield is actually going up, even though the Fed has started to cut rates. That shows you that there's a little divergence going on. This 10-year yield should be coming down, but we've been marching up the last 3 days. So that's bringing uncertainty. That's almost saying that investors are overseeing what's happening right now with the cuts in the rates. And the rates are still going up, implying that inflation is still going to be sticky and it's still going to be around, which is going to put stress on the markets and also stress on the economy. So that's why folks at this current state are still hanging tight with gold, in my opinion. But you guys have any other thoughts on that, both Ben or Lawton?
No, it's a safety asset. So it's a hedge. I mean, really kind of like against inflation and stuff. So there are a lot of companies or countries, probably both, that are seeing that there could be a potential rollover in the DXY, yields going up. And if the economy starts going, at least they'll have a safety net or a safe asset. And so it's gold is where people are putting their money right now.
Got it. Great answers, guys. Bruce says, FYI, if you're looking for a sentiment indicator, I'm about the most patient person in the world. However, I'm even thinking about riding the momentum and going long MAGX. It seems to work for everyone else. How foolish do you think it would be to take a position and set 5% take profit and 5% stop loss until it doesn't work anymore?
That's a curious position to do. It's not that really bad of an idea, but the one problem about starting that plan now is just we've been waiting, or at least I've been waiting, for some sort of 5 to 10% correction on the SPX since this March up from April, and we just haven't gotten it yet. And you can see we're bubbling up. We've been hanging out up here on the top end of the RSI, and we've done it quite several times, really, and we've never really had a good 5 to 10% correction yet. Once we get that correction, I think that's not a bad idea. But I would say just caution you now. Now, could we go up more? Yeah, we certainly could go up more, but you see where we're at on MAGX. Now, MAGX is the 2X ETF, so I wouldn't necessarily use this to analyze for technical analysis, but you can see here clearly on the chart, it's right up here at the top. I think it's not a bad idea, and especially if you only evaluate from April, right? Because we haven't gotten that big pullback. So on this March, yes, but now we're closer to we are at the highs of this March. That would be a little bit more dangerous to attempt that strategy here. I'd wait for some sort of good correction P500. Then you could always go lighter. Just do it now.
All right, Ben, is he breaking up for you?
Yeah, Drew, we're breaking up.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's not
Sorry.
good. Yeah, relationships got to end at some point, guys.
It's true.
Yeah, the last maybe minute and a half of what you said came in as
That's okay.
Is this better?
No, but no, yeah, it's better. But I think your message was pretty clear.
Okay.
He's saying it could work out. We're at the highs on MagX, so that's a cautionary tale. If you have a tight stop, then yeah.
Who cares? It's 5%. If you're comfortable, risking that 5% to see if you can continue to bank money like this, I don't see why not.
Yeah, my only question would be, which stocks on the Mag 7 do you feel are into support and are going to get a bounce, or that are getting through resistance and they're going to continue higher? That would be my question. And if you,
I think he's just like, this is so ridiculous. If everyone's making money, I'm going to make money too, like this.
No, I was long the
It's
Mag
valid.
X for a little bit, but I didn't take the run it's had.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, next question. Estes says, "Dear Verified Investing Team, sorry for the previous messages. I sent too many by mistake. It's all good, brother. I have Wolfspeed stock, and I would like to know, is it smart to hold long and wait for the company to gain its strength in the future? Thanks."
Well, you could do. Can you hear me now? Coming through fine?
Yeah, you're fine.
For Wolf, you definitely could. Obviously, we're at the lows of the chart, right? You could still run the risk of coming down a little bit further. It's not it's not been profitable in the most recent history. We've had some really bad financial news for them, and they've just gotten themselves out of bankruptcy. So they do have some wonderful tech. It's just a matter of it catching speed, wolf speed, no pun intended, and busting through. What I see on the most near term, and I guess it's hard for me to advise you. I don't know where your average is. I do think Wolf will eventually maintain above this declining trend line, currently right underneath it at $2.19. This trend line's right around $2.40. I do believe Wolf will start pushing up above this. It's just a matter of time. So I don't know where your target is, but I think this is a great spot to be in Wolf, especially with a small cap and a small position. I'm very comfortable with this. Yes.
All right.
I was gonna say, here's my chart. You gotta have a gap fill just under the 190 or $1.90 level, and then there's a couple other gap fills, 100 or $1.24. Could go back down to $42. So I say $42, 42 cents. So just keep that in mind, right? It's more of a, yes, it could be a long-term play, but it could also continue to crash. Look at what happens. You get these pretty decent sized rollovers. 40% is, as long as you're comfortable with that and knowing that just because we're out of bankruptcy doesn't necessarily mean that the market sentiment has switched into wolf speed. So like Drew was saying, it's a cautionary thing. He's comfortable with it. He's in it with his swing trade, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go higher.
Absolutely. Salvador says, "Hi, I can't short stocks. What's a good options put buy for OKLO?"
I don't do options. Right now, we're into a really key upsloping trend line. So this goes from the 30th of October, 2024. Secondary hit at the 7th of February, 2025. So this is pretty major trend line that it looks to me at least like it's getting a little bit of a rejection off of. And so right now would be an opportunity for you to possibly do an options trade. I do see it coming down to at least back to $110, if not a little bit more. This would be a pretty substantial pullback for OKLO, but ultimately I think that you should get a pullback off of this trend line. And so for me, that's where I would do an options. What about you, Drew? What do you think?
Just make sure for whatever strike price you choose, you choose an expiration that's at least 3 to 6 months out, giving yourself enough time. What I like to do also, I like to go through the different premiums and calculate basically away from the strike price a good entry. Some levels are getting purchased up more than others, and if you've got conviction there that you're going to have a pullback, just as been outlined, then just sort through those different strike prices as well as the bid and asks, and come up with the one that will get you there fastest. Usually the smallest dollar amount. I usually try to add them up, usually in the money and out of the money, right around the current price, then see which one is going to cost me the least to get into it in case I'm wrong, because then I can always add to that options play too, should it move against me.
How's my volume now, guys?
Sounds
good.
great.
Good? All right. Sorry, guys. We were messing with that. Malcolm, thanks for the heads up.
All right, great.
See here. Schmidt says, I agree on just about all of the shorts you guys have out there, but leveraged shorts like SOXX are a little worrisome to me. I think I got in a bit too early. And what do you guys suggest for a potential longer term hold? Like how he's just worried about that. SOXX.
First thing you want to do is you want to take a look at the SOXX chart. This is going to be the underlying ETF of the triple ETF on SOXX or SOXS. This is the SOXX is not a long-term vehicle to hold because there's degradation. The nice thing is you are into some resistance on the SOXX chart, and so it is due for a pullback. So what you'll want to see is you'll want to wait for a continuation break below this upsloping trend line, and then make sure that it stays below this double top. So this is going to be a pretty substantial pivot top for the SOXX. It goes back to the 11th of July in 2024. So right now, I think it's a great level to enter the SOXX, but again, it's not a long-term vehicle.
Cool. How's my mic now? Sorry, we're just messing with things. Sound
Just
good?
good before.
Yeah, just as good as it was last time you checked. Yep.
Okay. All right. Anna says, hi guys, what's your opinion for a day trade or swing trade in Solana? Looking at the 4-hour chart, I was getting a support line connecting from the low on September 6th to September 17th. It looks like it's breaking down that support line, but I'm not sure though. I'm favoring a down move for a short, but since it is at support, it could bounce to ?
So you're right. What we have with Solana is it just hit the 786 or just underneath the 786 fib retracement. So what I did was I took this pivot top. Oh, it actually did hit it exactly. So this pivot top at $296.58, this low pivot at 95, and then as you can see, price action headed higher and got all the way up to the 786 fib retracement. $253.23 is that level. If price consolidates sideways right underneath the 786 fib retracement, then Solana is looking to go higher. So right now it's just in a consolidation phase. I wouldn't go long on it yet. I would wait for additional confirmation or additional sideways consolidation and then potentially go long. Overall, it's overextended and could pull back to the 618. This would be more support for me, $219.46. That's where I would get in if you were interested in a long play on Solana.
Okay, cool.
Didn't she say she was interested in a day trade?
Short. She was interested in a day trade and a swing trade for a short.
For a short? Yeah, I probably wouldn't be doing that now. I wouldn't short it. I wouldn't short it right now at this moment. Even though Ben's right, I think it's going to pull back. Look on the hourly where we're at. We're already extended, moving down. So you're likely going to be getting a bounce somewhere in this range, right around 233, and it's just going to be minor intraday bounce. But I agree with Ben. I think we got a daily topping tail on this chart, so we're likely coming down at least to this inclining trend line, which likely is that 618 that Ben mentioned, right around 220. Is that where the 618 is on yours?
219.46. That's right.
Yep.
Oh, it's right
Yep.
there. Awesome.
Yep.
James says long-term outlook for QS and INTC, please. I mean, well, INTC at least they, of course, up big off of news, right? That they got investment from Nvidia,
Yep.
but
yeah,
long-term outlook.
long term, yeah, that's pretty tough. None of us in here really do any long term analysis. I know we do a lot more, technical near term analysis, and you have to get more involved with the fundamentals. Why Intel hasn't been producing chips when we've had this incredible opportunity for them, watching Nvidia blow right past them over the past 5 years or so, and Intel's still in the mud spinning the wheels. But we did get some support from the government recently, so that does bode well for Intel. Plus, they have partnered with NVIDIA backing them and investing in them, now starting to produce computers jointly with them. So with that being said, you should have some wind behind you on Intel. You could see right now, though, near term, we're just fighting to get through this big red candle that's on the chart. It's on the weekly time frame. That's what we're fighting to get through. Very next stop is going to be 37.39 on Intel. So it's got potential to move up on the daily. I do like price if it's coming down here. This was the measured move from this, from this inverse head and shoulders pattern. So we could very well catch some very good support here at 28.48, which does likely coincide with this inclining trend line right around that area. Wouldn't blame you for wanting to get in before if you're not in already, because when you're getting backing by the U.S. government and you're getting backing by a company like NVIDIA, that means something. That's a lot of financial backing and support to ensure that this new partnership is successful. So I think Intel certainly could go past 37.39. We'll need to see how their chip making capabilities are in the near future, though, once we get that chip turned right. What do you think on that, Ben, or do you want to cover QS?
Well, I was just going to mention we have a tech guy in our office, and he was mentioning Intel, and he was saying that one of the reasons that NVIDIA wanted to invest into Intel was the computing processor. I mean, the computing aspect of it, right? So NVIDIA makes the chips that go in the computers, but they don't actually make the computers themselves. And so them investing in Intel, they could have this collaboration now where they're starting to create computers. If that is going to be the case, then most likely the Intel computers will then have NVIDIA chips inside of them, thus increasing the demand for those computers, depending on what those computers are for, right? If they have this backlog of NVIDIA chips, but they can put it into a computer and then sell that for more money, even additional profits, then that's going to bode well for Intel. I think that if you can get it for a little bit of a pullback, or if you're a long-term investor, based on where Intel is in the charts, look at on the daily time frame. I mean, Intel could rally up to $69. And if you see what has happened to NVIDIA, it could get up to the $69 and then surpass it, especially if it's got the backing of the largest chip manufacturer in the world, which is NVIDIA. So long-term investment, yeah, put some money in it. Just know that it could be extremely volatile. And then QS, I'm actually bullish on QS. If we can break $14.02, get up to this gap fill at $14.65, 68 cents, you're going to get some resistance there. Look at all this resistance at $14.68. This pivot low right here, as you can see, price action got below it, got rejected a little bit, and then finally price got above it. Then that acted as a support. So on the way up, it's going to be resistance. As soon as it clears that resistance level, I think QS is going to skyrocket. It's a solid state battery for electric vehicles. Well, not just electric vehicles, but that would be one of the purposes behind it. So if we start seeing that this type of technology is starting to go into companies like Tesla and increasing the range, I think that the overall longevity of the company is going to be substantial. So I don't know that it's gone into Tesla vehicles yet, but if we can get rid of range anxiety for electric vehicles, reduce the pollution and stuff like that, I think QS could skyrocket.
All right. I like it. Okay. Mankel says, "Hey guys, is this a new series you've started? I only knew of the Monday live." Yeah, so this is a new series. So the Monday one is where we try and day trade crypto. Everything is crypto related, but this one, you can ask about stocks, cryptos, and commodities, whatever you want. Pretty much my AMA, just with the three of us instead. Faisal says, "Hi everyone. Do you think URA has topped up, and where do you think it'll drop?" Yeah, URA has been a beast, hasn't it?
It has. And the uranium, so the UK just, Drew and I were doing some research on why URA and some of these other stocks are ripping higher. There was a $350 billion package that the UK said that they were going to invest in uranium technology type of plays, right? So URA could be getting some of that money inflow. Doesn't necessarily mean this is the top, but what we got to look for is where the resistance levels are. So you have this upsloping trend line on URA. Let me go ahead and clean this chart up a little bit for you. Okay, so you have this upsloping trend line that it broke below. It got rejected once, and so this is the second hit of this upsloping trend line from the underside. So I do feel like this is more of a top in URA. If it starts recapturing that upsloping trend line, then it could potentially go higher. I do see a downside target. So if we get down to $42.25 and you're in it right now, I think that would be a great opportunity to exit the trade. But if you go to the weekly chart on URA, as you can see, this was as high as $134. So it could continue up. As you've seen, probably stuff like NEM, Newmont was trading at its lows on the charts. It was down to $37. Now it's getting close to all-time highs. So we can get momentum in some of these plays, and URA could be one of those plays that catches the momentum and it rides it. So just protect yourself on URA. Have a stop out. $42 area would be where I would take profits.
Okay. Jake says, "Lawton, do you still see SOXX going to $10?" Yeah, for my ultimate target for SOXX, and there's no secret that I have a personal SOXX swing trade going on. Yeah, my target for SOXX is in the $9 to $10 range. I mean, I definitely think that it's if we see a pullback or a correction, we could easily get there, if not higher. So yeah, that's still my price target.
Yeah, this is basically
SOXX.
going back to the last question that was asked about SOXX or SOXXS. You're just pierced double top, so that's good news for the potential bottom in SOXS. So this does favor a move to the downside, and get back down to $250.25 on SOXX. Then I think that SOXX is just going to rip higher. And so, yeah, I like that potential.
Absolutely. Stoyan says, "I have 250K. I have a 250K swing trading account. I'm a conservative trader, and the majority of money just sits there. How do I utilize that money while not used for trading, but accessible if needed?"
Hi, Stoyan. I'd highly recommend you contact your brokerage with that question. A lot of brokerages now offer the ability for you to leave your idle cash in your account, and it does receive interest. I'm not sure what brokerage you have, but several brokerages do have that benefit now. Whether it's either in other institutions, Fidelity, I believe Schwab has one. There's a number of different brokerages that actually offer that. Now, I know in Coinbase, now this isn't FDIC insured, however, but Coinbase does allow you to purchase USDC, which is a stable coin, and that does have between 4 and 5% APY. That's readily accessible. You can transfer that in and out between dollars and USDC instantaneously. So that could be an option there for you too, to put at least some capital over there and maybe to a crypto account.
Yeah.
But I would say find a brokerage, or at least mainly since you already have a brokerage account, contact them with this interest, and they should be able to point you to the right direction. If not, click a couple buttons on their side and make sure that you start getting some interest with your cash sitting there idle.
Gotcha. Yeah. And you could also, if you don't want to trade it, but you want to have it in something, you can always buy a stock that pays a dividend, right? And just collect dividends over time if you'd rather do that. All right. Axel says, any chance that the VXX moves higher in the next few weeks? I bought in at $37 and am considering selling covered calls to reduce my average.
What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. I think the VXX will move higher in the next few weeks. It's just a matter of time, right? But I've been saying this for quite a while as far as anticipating a potential pullback. If you look over here on the SPX, on the daily, as I've started saying earlier in the show, we haven't gotten a 5 to 10% pullback at all through this way up. And then we've just been hanging out up here near the oversold situation on the RSI, even getting back there on the weekly now, 69.86. So that doesn't mean that we're going to have volatility today, next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But this sort of pattern doesn't last, usually doesn't last that long. And then we see a sharp reversal. You know, it's more healthy for the market to stair step up rather than just vertically go up without any sort of digestion or profit taking and regaining of momentum to push the markets up higher. So with all that being said, even today, the VXX earlier on was actually starting to lift up, and it's positive on the day. Yet the SPX is also up on the day. So that's diverging, right? So that you can tell that there are investors starting to look into the VXX for safety in the incoming weeks. So we could be around the corner from some sort of correction, but still, I won't be satisfied until we get at least 5% drawback, and then I could start saying, okay, maybe we can still potentially keep going up on the S&P 500. But until we get that, it's very hard for me to say we have much further to run.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to try and share my charts for this one. Gaurav saying, what is your technical analysis on ENPH for swing trade? Let me see if I can share my charts here. Let's see here. Do you guys see this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So for ENPH, I can't see what you guys are looking at, so just let me know if it looks weird. For a swing trade, let's go to the daily on this. This isn't my normal. Yeah, Enphase. So Enphase for swing trade, Enphase looks pretty decent, right? You have all these kinds of downsloping trend lines that it is, starting to break, right? However you want to draw it. Starting to break above it, which would be bullish for the stocks. Also, additionally, for the stock, you're trading down 88% from its all-time highs back in the 2023 in January. If you want to enter this, right, I'd wait for a small pullback, or you can either wait for a retrace back down to this trend line. That's about 13% lower, so maybe a bit too far. But if you want to enter, you could consider entering here at this gap fill around $38.45 and consider looking to take profits. I'd look for like 15 to 20% on this. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it almost looks like an inverse head and shoulders pattern right there.
Yep. I was noticing that.
On
Enphase.
This,
yeah, right where their green earnings. You see their green earnings tab right there at the end of July.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
so like this.
Arm. Yep.
Yeah. So let's do a measured move on that. Great catch, guys. Let's do a measured move on that. For that inverse head and shoulders. And I apologize. I'm on a different setup.
Oh, that's all
so
good.
It's a little weird.
Look how that all is hovering around that neckline.
So yeah, around that neckline and around 32% higher is the measured move. It's actually bouncing off of that neckline right now. So
yeah, that's getting me interested. Great spot. I may have to steal that for one of my plays. That looks awesome.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Next question. Rada says, hey guys, where do you see the hood chart heading as it's creeping up?
All right, let's take a look at hood. All right. Hood, we have. Whew. It's a lot of these charts are just giving mixed signals. You can see I've got a red flag right there showing that we've got a topping tail on the chart. Daily RSI's in 70. So we're battling to go higher. Now, if Hood can accelerate up, that's the trend that's going to tag this trend line. Now, that's very steep. So it's unlikely this happens unless we get some sort of 20% push in a couple days. But we're looking all the way up here around 162, and this gets higher when time goes out. So in the very, very near term, you're going to be looking something like this, where it's just right across. We're basically right there into resistance. With the daily topping tail and the overbought time on the daily retracing here, man, it's not telling me it's going to be headed up much further on the charts. What about you, Ben? Do you see much upside on this with Hood?
Not really, but there have been many charts that I haven't seen much upside in, and it just continues to go higher. I wouldn't go long on the Hood chart. I would probably wait for $100 Pierce right about that gap fill.
Yeah. If you get any sort of price pullback, here are your steps. You could see this one right here was a previous all-time high. That's it. That's the most aggressive, 113.44. Like Ben said, through $100, there's this beautiful gap fill. And then you're going to have support down here, 84.87. One thing to keep in mind about Hood, Hood was running up. Yeah, they've got, I believe, I'm not sure yet if they have it yet with their derivative crypto trading capabilities. I know they were working on that. They're working on now potentially getting shorting capabilities too. Not sure where they're at with that process. So they're trying to enhance their services, which is what you need to do to stay afloat and also to increase revenue. So that is good. But all during this time where we've been marching up steeply on Hood, it's a lot of these investors have been anticipating them getting added to the S&P 500. Well, that's finally happened. So I'm waiting more for a sell the news event, like Ben said, wait for any pullbacks, and then those could be buying opportunities. But right now, it just looks like we're closer to the top than a buying opportunity.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Andy says, hi, regarding the Qs, I see an inverse head and shoulders on the hourly. It has the potential to hit 725 to 740. Is that true, or am I reading the chart wrong? Thank you. Inverse head and shoulders.
On the hourly?
On the hourly.
I already had a kind of a pseudo one here that already hit its measured move target within the last couple days. But one that takes us up that far, maybe you're talking about that, and that's going to be it's probably easily seen on the daily too, like right here. This one would, this is a.
But the right shoulder kind of like sucks, right?
It does. It's not that good. You could even argue, let's see, you could maybe argue here, but that tends to be a problem. It's kind of an in spirit of inverse head and shoulders. With this 404 or 402. So you're looking, about, man, this could take us up there, folks. These are some obscure things I found that actually can work out, but it's important to keep that in the back of your mind. That does put us up there near about 650 on the Qs, if that's the one you're referring to. Otherwise, the most near-term one was already done. And you see, like, why I say this was in spirit of, look at the left shoulder. It's under the head. That's not a valid inverse head and shoulders pattern, but it still generated a move that an inverse head and shoulders pattern would have had, and also tagged that inclining trend line. So that one was already done. This one is not done. But this one, usually you have a retrace back down to the neckline. That still could come. That still could come if we get a good sell in the markets. If the tariffs end up going, keeping inflation sticky, if interest rates continue to go up despite the Fed cutting the rates, there's so much data coming out that's not necessarily good, especially with the what was the one we were talking about earlier, Ben, with the credit card debt over 90 days is back at its same peak where we were at the 2007 financial crisis. So people are going into debt and they can't pay off their debt, and yet the markets still keep ripping. So it's one of those conundrums that's going on right now with the economy. Which way are we going to go? For right now, it seems like people are rejoicing with these interest rate cuts. How long does this momentum and euphoria last? We'll see.
Yep. All right. Let me pick a question that's not just straight up, straight up in-depth chart analysis. Take a break from that for a second. Do you have any charts that you guys feel like you like really a lot right now? Any chart that you're especially bullish on?
Well, I'd say one to
Because I
bring
know
up.
some of the people that are at home watching, they might not be able to short. They just want to find something that they could buy that looks good.
Yeah, so let's check this out. This is I think is a really cool opportunity. And it's not triggered yet either, so you can get into it now or you not. It's all good. You can wait and watch it. I was talking about this the other day on Trading the Close, and check out this. We've got basically an inverse head and shoulders pattern on Norwegian Cruise Lines. Now let's look at its brother or cousin, Royal Caribbean, right? Let's see Royal Caribbean, where we're at on that chart. Let's turn off the VWAP. So Royal Caribbean is up here. Now I know these aren't the same companies, but you look on the weekly time frame, it's near or closer to its highs. No one can debate that, right? We're all the way up there on the chart. If I flip Norwegian Cruise Lines and go over to the weekly and scroll back over, you can see we've been stuck down here. Basically, they've been stuck in the COVID era ever since the COVID slammed them down, and they haven't broken out of that. Now we're approaching and consolidating underneath this longer term declining trend line that just so happens to give us an inverse head and shoulders pattern with a targeted move up here to $40.41, implying potential 50% plus upside. Now that's something that's interesting to me. The thing that's not, say, sexy or draws attention to this. It's not a tech play. It's not an OKLO. It's not a, uranium data center play that's really dominating the news in finance right now. But this is at least what the pattern's displaying for me. And I'm sorry for this click back and forth or zooming back and forth. There we go. That'll cut that out. But this pattern is showing potential. Now it hasn't broken yet, meaning it hasn't triggered. We would have to get above and stay above this declining trend line, roughly around 2640. For that then to trigger and potentially give a move all the way up there to $40.41. So I think I'm most interested in following the price action on this over the coming days and weeks to see if that does trigger, as that could be kind of a silent or more discreet big mover in the near future.
Got it. How about you, Ben? Do you have anything you particularly really like?
I love UPS
Oh,
right now.
yeah, UPS is amazing.
Like I even wrote an article on this so you guys can see.
Beautiful.
QS is another stock that I really like right now. But UPS, it's down still 63% from the highs, from the all-time highs. It's a dividend-paying stock.
Yep.
I mean, this is absolutely incredible. Look at this. You have this nice reversal candle, not a bottoming tail, but it hit right off this low pivot. Back from the COVID lows. Drew's talking about COVID lows on Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings. Same thing. Hit this all-time or the COVID lows, putting in this nice bullish consolidation. So for me, it favors an upside move. I would target $140.08. That's a 382 fib retracement from the all-time highs all the way down to the COVID lows. And so that would just be a 382 fib retracement back to that level. And that's a 64% move to the upside. The cool thing about that is if you do go a little bit heavier than normal on something like UPS, you could always put a stop out and it at close below $82 on a closing basis, on a daily closing basis. But yeah, I really like that. I also like Jack in the Box. I think this is a great long-term hold if you can get a break above this down sloping trend line, right? Similar price action or opportunity where you could just put a stop out at $16.81 on a daily closing basis and you cut your loss. But look at the upside potential in Jack in the Box. Look at how beaten up this thing is. It was just back in the May of 2021. It was $125. I don't know if it's going that high again. However, look, COVID lows down 86%. I don't know if it's a dividend paying stock, but overall, I like the chart of Jack in the Box.
Yep. So. Absolutely. I agree. It's a great one.
Yep.
Let's see here. All right. We have about 5 more minutes, guys. We're trying to get through as many questions as you can. Thank you so much for everyone submitting your questions, but we have about 5 more minutes, so I apologize if we're not going to get to every single one. Man Cole says in all caps, hey guys, can you please look at MNT USDT on the weekly? It looks like we have a topping tail, though it is very small in comparison to last week's candle. So will this topping tail have any significance? Question mark.
Yeah, but why are you yelling?
I think I know Man Cole, he asked a lot of
know.
questions. My AMAs, I think he's has one of those keyboards that he pressed it one time and then it broke. So he only speaks in capitals. So first of all, is this a topping tail?
I don't know. Lawton, what do you think?
Well, I have to measure it. Hold on.
It's
Would
not
Drew,
because it's not close. It would be if it closed there. It looks like it. Just eyeballing, yeah.
I gotta check
weekly?
the 90 candles. Gotta go through all the
I don't see anything before.
checklist.
unless
Yeah,
I've
there
got-
isn't. No, there's no price action. So yeah, it would be if it closed here, right? Closing in the bottom 25%.
Mhm.
It's close.
It's close. By
Eyes
eyeballing,
closed.
it looks like it, but we still have to the end of this week. We still got 2 days left.
Hmm.
I don't have it as one.
No?
Nope. It would have to close below $1.6625. 166.25.
So there you go. 1.25 pennies lower.
See, that's what we're saying. I said it's
It's
close
close.
though.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
it is
close.
close.
Eyeballing with 2 days
Yeah.
left. It's right there on the line.
2 days and
So-
6 hours.
Mhm.
So how about? But he said that this candle is smaller than last week's candle. Does that have any significance when determining a topping tail? The size of the bar.
No, I
Well-
actually like the fact that it's a smaller candle. And the reason is because you had all this euphoric buying pressure. And you see the pullback in Drew's charts. So it just shows you that there's sellers involved in this particular altcoin. So just because it's putting in a smaller topping tail than the previous candle, it just means all the buyers had exhausted themselves pushing it to this high. So having a smaller candle is not a problem for me. As long as it's not like a really, really small candle. It's a decent sized candle.
Yep. We have 2 more minutes.
All
Let's
right.
see here.
Find one more.
Alex says Circle. Is it a good time to buy Circle?
Oh, wow. I haven't looked at that chart in a while.
Oh, buddy.
$60? Nope.
$60 my buy level for Circle.
Wow, look at this. Well, apparently it hit some fib support and got a great bounce off $114.29. So far, that looks like that was the spot. Then 90, and then Lawton's level at 60. So
Yep.
you should get rejected on Circle. Coming up pretty soon. It's going to have resistance at 150, and then this declining trend line, wherever that may be, 160, 165. But man, when I see stuff like this, I can't buy this. Especially when I've notated it on the chart. I'm gonna have, when stocks get going like that, I can't step up and buy that. I have to wait for some sort of pullback. And even if I'm super aggressive and like I just want to get in, then I'll get in as soon as I can on one of these support levels, maybe a trend line drawn out or the underbelly of this consolidation. Say if I was just eager and wanting to get in and have some stake in it, but we've already had a bounce. I can't really get into it because we're about to run into resistance at 150, and then the resistance potentially, if it busts through that at 160, that could all cause consolidation and pullback. And in that case, that would create a pattern that helps me get into the stock to go for a long. Ben, you got anything you want to add to that?
Everything is dependent on long-term horizon. If you think Circle is going to make all-time highs, or you don't care about holding for the longer term, I'll give you a prime example. So I'm going to remove you, and I'm going to go to the chart of RBLX.
Roblox.
My brother-in-law was in this trade. Let's go to the daily time frame. He says, I feel so confident about Roblox. I'm going to get in at, I think it was $126. Okay, awesome. Did he sell? No. He added at, I don't think it was that high. It may have been right around $100. He added at $52, brought his average price down, then he was at 75. Did he sell? No. What did he do? He actually added right here at $26. Brought his average down to $52 a share. And look at where Roblox is trading right now.
Did he sell it?
$135. I don't know. He may still be in it. He loves this thing. His kids play it. He sees the amount of worlds that are in there that you can create. Right.
It's
so
incredible.
It's not just one game inside of Roblox.
No, yeah.
There's creators that are continually creating content, and each person can contribute to a specific game. So on that platform, and then the company Roblox gets to take a percentage of it. So realistically, the game of Roblox is infinite as long as you have the imagination to create it. And so for him, even though he was in it, $100 and brought it down to $52 a share, he saw the long-term vision, and now he's up over 100% on it. Would I have done the same thing? Absolutely not. And he put 100% of his portfolio in it when he was all said and done. So whatever your time horizon is, what do you feel like Circle is going to do? Are you willing to hold down 75% on your portfolio? If that's you, then why not? This could be a good opportunity. Don't let us dissuade you from getting into a position if you see in 5, 10, 15 years or however long that this thing is going to do what it's going to do. There's no guarantees in the stock market. So, yeah, that's all I'll say with that. Yeah, so if you like Circle right now.
All right.
Yeah, you could do that.
So we got to close out here. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Again, Ben, Drew, and I are all here. If you guys have more questions and you're part of the Smart Money Stocks and ETFs or any of the other Smart Money Stocks, crypto or commodities, you can always submit a question for us 24 hours a day at the Smart Money Q&A on the Verified Investing dashboard. While you're here, I just want to say, please consider liking and subscribing it. If you enjoy this type of content and want to see more of it, consider subscribing to us on YouTube. With that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. And we have the weekly wrap up next in an hour with Gareth Soloway.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Bye, guys. Bye.